Hello, hello. Um, Hi, I am appearing on live here on YouTube for the very first time ever. I was just inspired to do this. I was um, at a engagement that I had this morning, and I ran into a woman who I haven't seen in 6 years. And she reminded me that she found me on Instagram Lives back in 2020. And she was sharing how she used to keep up with me and follow my lives all the time. And I said, I feel like I should do that again. But I decided to try it here on YouTube, which I've never done before. So we'll see how this goes. I have had a magical morning, and I wanted to share it with you as an invitation to share your own magic, your own miracles, your own synchronicity, but more importantly, to pay attention for them, to look for them, to open your eyes to them, to witness them, savor them, enjoy them, and not discount them. Today, I was going to give a talk this morning, and I was getting ready, and I had this burning question in my mind. One of the things that I talk about is how we go from drifting to living with intention. And that concept allows us to create a life that sparks bliss. And this is what I wanted to share with this group of people. But I had this burning question. And that is, I've noticed a lot of people around me who, as they've gotten older, start to lose the magic in their lives. They start to lose the sparks of bliss in their life. Life becomes mundane. Life becomes difficult. We get aches and pains, and we suffer things that happen in our lives, and they start to accumulate. Oftentimes, I see people as they get older get a little bitter or a little bit stuck in their own ways. And I started to think, I teach this work of finding the sparks of bliss. But is there an age limit? Is there a moment in time where you start losing access to it? You know, does it get to a point where as you age, this is life isn't blissful anymore? It was a question that I just kept asking in my head. And I thought of one person, and that is a mentor of mine, my very first coach, Susan Ford Collins, who wrote the book The Joy of Success. And I thought, she's older than me. She's been through a lot. Her husband died of cancer. She lost her sister to cancer. She had a horrible time during COVID. Things really changed for her. Um, I just I thought about her, and I was like, I wonder if I should ask Susan this question. As you age, could you still find the sparks of bliss if you do what I say? If you stop drifting, if you live with intention, can you live a life that sparks bliss? So I thought about calling her at 6:30 in the morning because she is one of my morning friends. I always call her early in the morning. But my speech was I had to be there at 7:30. I wanted to be in the zone. I didn't want to deviate. I didn't want any distractions. So I opted to wait to call her later. I was like, I'm just not going to call her right now. But I had her in my heart. Then, as I delivered my speech, I thought about her, and I mentioned her in the speech out loud to everybody. I said, "Oh, my mentor, Susan Ford Collins, has taught me this," and talked about her. And then got in my car and went to breakfast with another mentor of mine. And as I was sitting there with my other mentor, Bruce, who, by the way, is the one who introduced me to Susan. So this is like a circle. I've talked about Bruce on the channel before. He's the one that helped me come up with the name, the Bliss Enough podcast. Very important guy in my life. So as I'm talking to him, I didn't realize at the time, but my phone rang. I just had my phone put away. And when we were done with our breakfast, I saw the missed call, and it was Susan Ford Collins who was calling me. Now, here's why this is odd. Susan Ford Collins never calls me, ever. I always call Susan. We've got our roles, we've got our routines, and Susan is always tries her best to make herself available to talk to me when I call. She always answers my calls for the most part. But she also knows that I'm busy, and I guess she doesn't like to bother me. I don't know. She's not the one that calls me. I am always the one that calls her. I could count on my hand how many times she's dialed my number or I've seen a missed call. And usually, if she is calling me, she's calling me back because it was one of the times that I called her and she wasn't available. Very few, but it has happened. So I found it very strange that Susan was calling me. So I give her a call and she says, "Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to hear from you. I know a person that you must meet." She tells me about a woman who she wants me to connect with. She said, "I was just thinking about you today and I decided that I wanted to call you to introduce you to this woman." So I tell her my story. And I tell her, "Susan, I was just thinking about you. I had this question. I didn't want to call. I mentioned you in the podcast, in the speech. Then I went to breakfast with Bruce, and here you are calling." She said, "It was so funny because I was supposed to get a call today at 10 in the morning, and the woman never called. And because she never called, I was on the phone with this other woman. And then all of a sudden, you just popped into my mind. And I said, I need to make this connection, and I need to make the connection right now." And then she says, "Oh, and by the way," out of nowhere, she says, "Oh, and she lives in this really cool place called The Well." What's fascinating about that is that my group program is called The Well. And here was my dear Susan trying to connect me with this woman who lives in a place called The Well, random. And it was just a spark of synchronicity, a spark of bliss for me. And I said, Susan, this is such a spark of synchronicity. I am blown away by it." And she says, "Well, honey, you're living in the magic. That's what it's all about. You just have to live in the magic." I said, "Well, Susan, I have this question for you. I just need to know. As you age, do you lose the sparks of bliss?" And she said, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not." I said, "Well, what? Tell me when you have the bliss." And she said, "Well, I had bliss today. The moment I met, I realized that this was the perfect connection, that I was going to introduce you and my friend, and being able to make that connection and getting excited to call you." She says, "That's magic." And then she went on to tell me three other things that had happened in her day that had helped, that were little sparks of bliss in her life. And she said, and I said, "Susan, I've seen so many people start losing that magic as they go along. I see so many people becoming bitter or overwhelmed or tired from life. And a lot of things have happened to you, and that doesn't happen to you." She says, "Well, honey, it's not about your circumstances, it's about your choices, about your attitude." She said, "We've got to decide to live in the magic and choose to see it and open our minds to it. And the universe always rewards us. Look at today." She said, my 10 o'clock never called, and that was the perfect opportunity for me to reach out to you. And it all aligned exactly as it should because you needed to hear from me today." That was my day today. And it got me thinking about you and this idea. I have been exploring this lately, and I'm asking this profound question, which is, if you open your life up to magic, to synchronicities, if you pay attention and you find them, I am finding them constantly, daily. And I am attracting a lot of people who are also experiencing that magic in their lives. And I have them sharing with me the magic that they're experiencing. And I keep wondering, where is it leading me to? What is this synchronicity telling us about life? What is it helping us understand? What's on the other side of it? And I can't say that I know the answer, but I am enjoying the mystery and the exploration of it. And I'm living in a life that is so much more romantic, so much more meaningful, because I have opened myself up to the synchronicities and to the thought that magic surrounds us. And even though this morning I had that little seed of doubt, will it go away? Will it change when I'm older? Will it disappear if life is hard? Is it only reserved for the lucky few? The answer is no, it's not. It's available to all of us, it's within us. Bliss is already within you. And I think it starts by stopping the drift, by making decisions in your life where you become the designer of your life. You become proactive in your life. I have a very simple framework that I teach. And I talk about this on my podcast and in my group. And I spoke about it today. And it's three simple terms: you notice, you name, you nurture. Notice what's working. Notice the magic. Name it. Call it a synchronicity. Call it a God incidence. Call it a God wink. Call it a spark of bliss. Call it a Holy Spirit moment. Call it divine intervention. I don't care what you call it. I call it synchronicity. Name it. And then nurture a life that supports it. Share it with people. Document it. Write it down. Be grateful for it. Acknowledge it. Receive it. Look for evidence of it. It's life-changing. I was inspired today, and I wanted to share this with you. I hope that this has served you. I hope you find it. I don't even know if anybody's here because I can't see anything on this live stream. But this was fun. So if you were here, if you heard this, if you're paying attention, and if this message was meant for you, please comment below and let me know. Put it in your comments and share with me so that I know that you needed to hear this message today. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.